Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is the next episode of our WWF 1992 save with TEW9, and it's the first episode of Superstars after the Royal Rumble. You'll remember, of course, Sid Justice won the Royal Rumble, which means he is the new WWF World Champion. But let's get on with this show. We open with a couple of pre-show bouts. We've got Dino Bravo taking on Tatanka, and yeah, just wanted to give Tatanka a win. And we did it in the pre-show because didn't really have room for it in the main show. As I said before, I do want to be using Tatanka, so yeah, eventually we'll get him something to do on TV, but at the moment, just sort of try and build a little bit of momentum for him, give him some wins on pre-show. And it says we had a decent reaction from the crowd, but terrible wrestling. And Tatanka got the win in 11 minutes 6 seconds by pinfall with an Indian death drop. 44 wrestling, 49 crowd, 47 overall. I don't think that's completely terrible. Tatanka, I think he might still be unimportant, but at most he's recognisable. Same with Dino Bravo. So, you know, I don't think that's too bad, really. Chris Duffy takes on The Undertaker. We just wanted to get The Undertaker on the card and give him a win. So he gets a dominant win here on the pre-show, beating Chris Duffy in 10 minutes 29 by pinfall with the Tombstone. 45 wrestling, 44 crowd, 50 overall. And the Orient Express in tag team action against El Matador and Coco Beware. So we've got a pre-show bout that didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling, but it's the Orient Express getting the win in 13 minutes 7 seconds. Kato pinned Coco Beware with a super kick. Again, just get Orient Express on there and El Matador and Coco Beware to some extent, but yeah, give the win to the permanent sort of tag team here. El Matador, not really sure what to do with him. I mean, he's a great talent in ring, but he's at that sort of age now where he's not going to main event. I'm not going to push him hard. Same with Coco Beware, really. I mean, he's a little bit younger than El Matador, but I just don't really have major plans for him. But we get a 43 wrestling rating here, 45 crowd, 49 overall. The crowd is expectant and simmering as we head into the main show. And we kick off with a Hulk Hogan promo. He's on the screen. He didn't really have screens in '92, I suppose, but he's on the TV anyway, and it's a satellite interview of Hogan. He's sort of in his hospital bed because he got beaten I won't say to a pulp, but he got beaten pretty badly, and he got stretchered out of the arena at the Royal Rumble after Sid Justice turned on him, and he's calling Sid a traitor or a coward, and he says, I may be sidelined for a few weeks, but rest assured I'll be backing anyone who puts themselves up to challenge Sid for the gold. So yeah, we're sidelining Hogan for a little bit, not as long as I originally planned. I am going to have him around, but he's not going to be in the title picture. I know that seems a little bit strange, seeing as Sid Justice is our current champion, but Hogan will be out for a few weeks, and probably gives you a rough idea of where I'm going with the title. Sid's not going to hold on to it for too long, but a rating of 72 to kick the show off. And then we've got Greg Valentine taking on Repo Man, and we get a decent reaction from the crowd, but terrible wrestling. Repo Man gets the win here in 6 minutes 4 seconds by pinfall. 43 wrestling rating, 48 crowd, and 48 overall as well. So we also had Big Boss Man come down to sort of keep his eye on the Repo Man, just making sure he doesn't do anything that he shouldn't be doing. We do have that storyline going on where Big Boss Man wants to clean up the filth in the WWF, and he's identified the Repo Man as his first target, as who he called a Robin son of a gun. So he's nothing but a thief, which is what we've named the storyline. Gene Okerlund interviews Jim Powers. So in our world, in our universe, Jim Powers had a really great Royal Rumble. He eliminated more people than any other wrestler. Did really, really well. We are looking to push Jim Powers. Unfortunately, in game, I couldn't actually put it in that he eliminated more people than anyone else. That was in 2020, but it's not in TEW9. It appears, but basically that's the story. He had a really good Royal Rumble, so Gene Okerlund's like congratulating him. No one gave you a chance. I know you didn't go on to win it, but you must be so proud. And Jim Powers, yeah, it's a dream come true. I never thought I'd eliminate that many people. Never thought I'd last as long as I did. Really over the moon. Skinner comes out because we've got Skinner in the storyline at the moment with Jim Powers. And he just tells Powers that, you're an absolute nobody. You got lucky at the Royal Rumble. That's it for you now. Enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy the spotlight because it's not going to last for very long. You're a nobody. And then Skinner starts to attack Powers after they just sort of to and fro, a little bit of arguing. So Skinner decides to attack Jim Powers. And then we have Sergeant Slaughter come out to make the save. Now, what I'm thinking here really, don't have too many plans for Sergeant Slaughter, but he's still a star and he's a face. And I thought, let's give him a bit of a rub. Sorry, let's give Jim Powers a bit of a rub from having someone like Sergeant Slaughter in the angle, and not aligning with him as such. But Sergeant Slaughter's kind of like, leave the guy alone. He did really well, did better than you did. So yeah, the idea here really is just to put some star power alongside Jim Powers, and we get a rating of 40, which isn't great, but this is just a very this is going to be a very long-term story, I think. And the crowd's still simmering, which is a little bit worrying. I thought with the Hulk Hogan promo kicking us off, it would have started off at hot, but yeah, a little bit worrying. But we get the Bushwhackers take on Haku and the Barbarian. And this was another one that didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling. Haku and the Barbarian get the win in 6 minutes 57. Haku pinned Butch with a crescent kick. 43 wrestling, 46 crowd, 46 overall. Still simmering as we go backstage with the Natural Disasters and Jimmy Hart. And the Natural Disasters saying, okay, look, where's our title shot now? Money Incorporated have had theirs. Where's ours? And Jimmy says, look, I'm really sorry, guys, but a deal has already been struck for the Nasty Boys. And obviously, the Natural Disasters are upset. They're annoyed. What do you mean there's already been a deal been struck? And Jimmy says, look, if they win their match tonight, they're going to get a title shot. And the Disasters, you promised us, Jimmy. You said we're a priority. Look, it was out of my hands. WWF management, they got the better of me in negotiations. Nothing I could do. Obviously, Jimmy knows differently. He's also the Nasty Boys manager. So the Disasters are not happy, and they have a go at Jimmy Hart before walking off and ending that particular segment, which gets a rating of 47. Shawn Michaels takes on the Virgil. Decent reaction from the crowd. Terrible wrestling again. Shawn Michaels defeated Virgil in 8 minutes 50 by pinfall with a sweet chin music. 45 wrestling, 50 crowd, 52 overall. Yeah, I want to be using Shawn Michaels. Virgil don't have no plans for. He's basically going to be jobbing to our future stars. But Shawn Michaels, I really thought, I know he's still very green at this stage of his career, particularly as a solo wrestler goes. But I thought we'd get sort of better wrestling out of him. He gets a 51, which, it's although not completely awful. Yeah, I'm just disappointed really with this whole crowd. We don't seem to be having a great crowd at the moment. And it drops even further to unclear as we have a news segment with Sean Mooney introducing promos. First of all, from the Beverly Brothers, and they talk about how they've always had everything done for them in life. They've always got their way because of their high class, high profile parents. So this is the whole storyline with Sergeant Slaughter and Jim Duggan, where the Beverly Brothers cheated to beat them. And then Duggan and Slaughter have come out and said, look, that's not the American way. You don't cheat your way to victory. And so this is now the Beverly Brothers in response again, saying, look, we've always had things go our way. When you live the way we have, when we were children and, with our high class parents and, going off to all these great universities and having great jobs, we've had to want for nothing. So, we're going to do everything we can to get victory in our matches. We also have a promo from Roddy Piper, and he talks about being owed an Intercontinental title shot. The Mountie beat Bret Hart, of course, at the Royal Rumble. Bret Hart did promise Roddy Piper a shot, but now the belt is in the Mountie's hands. So what will the Mountie think about that? And we also heard from El Matador and Tatanka, just to get them in the main show, have them some TV time. Rating of 44. And now the crowd are disinterested. I don't know what to do here, guys. I really don't. I don't think I've ever had this problem in TEW before. But we didn't have much heat. Terrible wrestling. Papa Shango defeated Nikolai Volkov in 5 minutes 19 by pinfall with a voodoo driver. I know they're both quite low down in the card. I want to be getting Papa Shango over. Had we had a better start to the show, can you get much better than a Hogan promo? I don't know. Maybe the warm-up shows, the pre-show, maybe we could have done a bit better there. But we got 40 wrestling, 43 crowd, 30 overall. We need to pull this back. Gino Clund interviews Randy Savage, and he says that as he was runner-up of the Royal Rumble, he is the number one contender for Sid Justice WWF title. Ric Flair comes out, and obviously He disagrees, and Ric Flair says it doesn't work like that. You lost the Royal Rumble as well as 28 other men, including me. If you, by your logic, you might as well just give a title shot to Jim Powers. And again, we're just trying to mention Jim Powers when we can. Well, I did forget to put him in there. Could have had him off screen, which might have given him a bit of a rub. But a rating of 64 for this one. So yeah, just an argument sort of segment between Savage and Flair. The Nasty Boys take on the New Foundation. If the Nasty Boys win, they get a title shot. And of course, they got the win in 8 minutes, 8 seconds. Brian Knobbs pinned Owen Hart with a trip to Nasty Boy. Nasty Boy? Yes. A trip to Nastyville after Jimmy Hart interfered. And this was our storytelling match. 47 wrestling, 52 crowd, 53 overall. I don't know where this crowd is. And then we've got Gene Oakland interviewing the Mountie. And the Mountie and Jimmy Hart say it is not up to Roddy Piper, who gets a shot at the Intercontinental title. It is up to the Mountie and his manager, or my manager as the Mountie would say, Jimmy Hart. Who does Roddy Piper think he is? Bret Hart made him a promise for a shot. I didn't. Bret Hart doesn't have the belt anymore. I do. So yeah, just trying to advance this storyline. I think every storyline today has lost heat. That's not looking good. 49 for this segment. And our main event, wow, that kind of pulled it back a little bit. So we had a good match between Ric Flair and Bret Hart. I knew I'd have to have a decent main event. And yes, Ric Flair getting the win in 12 minutes 15 by pinfall with a fast roll-up. Didn't want Bret Hart to lose by submission. And this was a steal the show match. So we kind of pulled the crowd back a little bit. This isn't looking good for our final rating, though. 73 wrestling, 76 crowd, 60 overall. Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect are an awkward pairing, which really does not help. I'm even tempted to just go into the editor and change that because that's just not realistic to this time period. But by the same token, I'm playing the game and maybe I should just do something about it and change things up. So overall, we get a 55, which is absolutely terrible. I know in the first couple of months of any save, really, certainly in my experience and what I've seen a lot of on YouTube, the first couple of months of a save are usually a bit of a struggle until you get into your, the swing of what you're doing and start to introduce your own storyline. So I'm not worried, but I'm worried. It's not looking great. Financial report, well, at least we're still making money. Our popularity's going down. As long as we can stay above, I think it's 77 or whatever it is. Or is it 77 to stay as a big company? Yeah, I mean, that'd be the only worry really, is if we drop below that. So just check the emails then. Drug test fees, not interested. First run syndication unhappy. Yeah, it was a poor result. Rene Goulet says Earthquake is money. I have to think about that with some of the scores we're getting. And Sky1 are unhappy as well. And Time to Heal for Haku. Okay, that's pretty much it then. Don't really have anything else to go through. I think I will, these particular episodes where I've only got one Superstars, I think I will start having 2 episodes of Superstars just to sort of stretch the episodes out a little bit because they're going to be very short otherwise. I don't really have much to go through behind the scenes at the moment. Do want to have a quick look at our storylines though. I just want to make sure that we're still achieving. No, we're failing. We are failing at 5 storylines hot and above, that is really worrying then because we've got some pretty hot stories. Really, well, we should have. I mean, Randy Savage, Ric Flair. The IC Gold is still hot. Jimmy's loyalty is a little cold. Got to do something about that. I mean, Big Boss Man and Repo Man, not really expecting that to be, white hot or anything. Same with Power to Powers. Sid Here's the Chance is still hot. Snake Bite's still hot. And the American Way is cold. So we're only one off. We just need something else to get into hot and we'll be okay again. But yeah, it's not looking over great at the moment as far as our shows are concerned. But I mean, we've still got an amazing roster. We've still got some great stars. I need to take a look at how I'm booking Superstars and just maybe think about getting a few more main eventers in there. I'm kind of trying to half book realistically, as in you didn't have all the main stars on Superstars. You didn't have all the main stars on TV at all. Back in 92, you might have had one main eventer in a match, probably a squash match. But maybe I just need to rethink that. I'm going to have to really. I know it may be unrealistic to the time period, but we're playing a game here first and foremost, and you know, I need to do what I need to do. Hope you've enjoyed this one, everybody. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.